Hello and welcome to Roll and Relax. I'm Claudia Mühlenweg. I'm the creator of the Naturally Clear Vision Method, Bates teacher, yoga teacher, and role model method practitioner. And we will be using those amazing little therapy balls from Tune Up Fitness. I highly recommend you use those. You can, however, use tennis balls or any kind of other squishy, grippy balls. And I will be demonstrating using all the three kinds of balls. So we have the Yoga Tune Up, the Plus balls, and the Alpha ball, so the three different sizes. And I will be using all three of them and showing you. So if you only have the small ones, you can definitely use those too. You might have to do some of the things at the wall because it might be too intense on the mat. And you also need kind of a yoga block or a thick book or something for this practice. So we will start with the knee. So if you have pants like me, I will get rolling my pants up. You don't have to do that, but you're just going to get more grip because we're going to be working on that inner knee. But before we do that, we do one other practice, so where we don't necessarily need to roll up the pants. So I wanted to say that in advance. And so the muscles, that first thing that we will be doing is like a sandwich for your calves and your hamstrings. And obviously your inner knee will be also part of the equation. And so when we look at our calves, so the biggest muscle is the gastrocnemius. It's this one. It's like that beautiful, when you have beautiful defined calves. And just underneath that is the soleus or soleus. That's kind of underneath the gastrocnemius. And then you see the plantaris. See how it's crossing over to the upper leg. So that's a very small one, but it can have a big impact. And then here is like just an overview of the muscles on the hamstrings. Oops, I meant to show you that side. So the hamstrings is like these muscles. So there's the semitendinous, the semimembraneous, and the adductor magnus. No, hold on, which one? Okay. The brevis. Oh, I don't know. I don't remember all these muscle names, to be honest. But there's the two. It's basically three muscles that comprise of the hamstrings. So let's get started. And for this one, I recommend the smallest ones, the Yoga Tune-Up balls. And you take them out of the tote. So actually, I'm going to use another pair. These are a little worn down. So if you're very tender, you can always use older balls if you have them. I want to use some firmer, newer balls for this, but again, this depends on your body and how tight those tissues are. And so you start by placing the balls kind of right here, right in between there. And you know, they will probably drift either to the outside or the inside, and we will be using both areas, but because you have that bone, right? You have that shin bone. So now, so this is, it might be, and you might, if your feet are like this, it might also be nice to have like a rolled up blanket that you can put under your, just showing that real quick. So if you don't have a lot of what's called plantar flexion, you know, you can always do this so that it's not that you don't have to, that you can actually relax your ankles. But so this is called plantar flexion. So the first time I did this, I was like here and I was like, oh my God. So you lower as far as you can and take a few deep breaths and relax your shoulders. Relax your head. And what I like to do is I like to shimmy a little bit back and forth, just a little bit to the side. So I don't know if you can see it here. So, but basically, when you shimmy your butt side to side, you know, the balls will move just a little bit across that top of that gastrocnemius. And if some of you might be able to do this and sit all the way on the ball, this is like all a little bit too intense. I could do it, as you could see, but it's not the good pain anymore. But you can also, if you can come down pretty low, oops, let me get my second block, and you have two yoga blocks, you know, you could also just kind of come lower and support yourself. Like, you know, I'm using my hands to press to not have my whole body weight on the balls. Breathe. And if you like, please unmute yourself. Mute yourself. Otherwise, I have to come and do it. Okay. And maybe, so make sure you breathe. You don't hold your breath here. This could be kind of tricky. Maybe you can kind of come in and out of it a little bit like so. So always exhale when you come into the more tense area. So inhale, release, and exhale, slowly lower. And then let's move the balls a little further down. So maybe a couple inches further down. So now you get more into that middle part of the gastrocnemius. And for, maybe that's a little easier. Again, I like to shift a little side to side, and the balls will either go more to the outside, and you can explore. Is it like, for me, the outside is not that bad. I can sit here. And then you can also explore if you put it more on the inside. How's that? That's for me, for instance, on the left side, I feel a lot. On the right side, I feel barely anything. But you need to make sure the balls, they might kind of want to move too far out or in. So this is sustained compression where you just breathe. And for me, this is like a 6. It's pretty intense, but you don't want to go over a 7 in terms of pain on a scale of 1 to 10. So again, I've been doing this for a while. So when I first did this, there was no way I could sit on my heels. And then you can do that shimmying. So I have my balls now on the inside, kind of that lower leg bone. Tibia and fibia, I always mix them up. Okay, I do need to study my anatomy. And now I've put them on the outside and just kind of shimmying side to side. So you're doing a little bit of cross fibering, you're crossing that muscle just a little bit. It's not a lot of movement because you have the ball sandwiched. Yeah, and it's always nice. You can always do this too. If you want more, you can always come back. I did an online Pilates class this morning, and I've been doing Pilates for a while, but I haven't done it in a while. And I'm like, oh my God, even the easy version, I had to end. It was like an hour class, and after 15 minutes, I'm like, I'm done. It's all core. All right, and then let's move the balls a little lower. And just check in, is there some resistance here? Yeah, I feel it on the right side, for instance. And again, you don't need to sit with your butt down. If this is too intense, you don't need the blocks, but maybe just lean forward like so. Relax, like don't have your shoulders, relax your shoulders. For me, this is okay. This feels actually really good. So especially now that we're coming closer to the bone, the ball will probably jump either to the inside or outside. And you can actually hold them too. Yeah. This is a way to watch Netflix. Just sit on those balls while you watch Netflix. And then let's move them further down. So now we're in the area of the Achilles. And again, if this is tender for you, make sure you don't, you don't put your whole body weight on it. So you really want to make sure that you're in that good pain. And then here, it's really nice when you shift your hips side to side, the balls kind of cross over the bone. Yeah. This is also great directly on skin, but it's not as necessary. And then it's like, now I'm sitting, it's just really nice that, it's funny, both balls are on the left. So this is on the outside, the other one is on the inside, but I'm kind of squeezing my body weight. And so they kind of plow into the tissues. And then I'm moving them to the right. So that now the right ball is on the outside of my right calf. And the left one is on the right side. So they're both kind of parallel. Yeah, you should have done this, you can always do a check-in, you do child's pose, and then you do child's pose again after doing this, but we will be doing more. So for this next one, I like to sit on a little blanket or a little bolster. Actually, let me see, I have a bolster right here. You don't need to, but I find it more comfortable. So now this next one, this is where I recommend that you scooch your pants up. So I'm going to do that right now. Get my leggings up here. Let me see how I can maybe turn to the side a little bit. So now, and this gives you that little leverage, right? Because we will be moving this foot around. So it's nice to sit on a little bolster or a blanket, whatever you have, a little pillow. So I put one ball And I'm sandwiching again, right now I'm sandwiching it to the outside, right? Right here. So, and then you can do, so you can just squeeze it in, and now it's less intense. You can flex and point your foot, make circles. You can put it back down, and now you can also do, this is where I feel something. So now I'm moving my foot, you know, obviously my whole leg, but I'm moving my foot to external and then to internal. So you kind of moving the leg. And so this kind of gives it more space, and now you're kind of squeezing the ball. See how my calf, my gastrocnemius is popping out, and then now I'm releasing it. And then you can do that on tippy toes. So just explore different motions and movements. And if you want to add more, this is where the bare skin comes into play. You can always wind that ball up. This is one of my favorite things. You wind it up, you spin it a little bit, and then you squeeze it back in. So that's when you need that grip of the bare skin. Yeah, it's a little tricky, but you just spin it and then you squeeze it back in. So that feels great. And then, see, sometimes the little figuring it out. I want to find a spot that has good pain. So I'm a little bit more on the inside now. And then you can definitely place the ball. We move around on the inside. So now we're doing the other side. We're putting the ball on the inside. Right here. Right? And so maybe the outside wasn't, you know, you kind of want to squeeze it in so it's toward the inside. And then again, you can just use your arms, pull it in, flex, circle. Yeah, here, right here, and I have it right here. Feel it. Don't forget to breathe. And then you can place it down and then add those kind of movements, internal, external. It would be actually almost nice to be on the block here. I'm just thinking this makes it more easier. Yeah, see, that is actually easier now to rotate than on the mat. So it's always about finding it, make it more comfortable. You can also use your hands to help with that. Okay, wow, that feels so good. Now other side. And we see, I'm gonna turn around this way. So roll up the pants. Again, the pants, it's not necessary, but it gives you that great way of grabbing the skin. I always find it great. Ideally, for most of the practices to be directly on skin, you get really the most out of it. So place the ball right here and set it down. You can relax the other one, whatever feels more comfortable for you. And then I always like to start by just kind of squeezing it in and going from plantar flexion to dorsiflexion and circling. Interesting. Breathe. Relax your shoulders. Okay. Or maybe, you know, you can just lean more into it. It's just kind of explore the different things you can. You didn't do that on the other side, but doing a little bit of, you know, toe lifts or heel lifts, not toe lifts. These are heel lifts. And then that inside out motion, you can do it on the tippy toes, or I did it before on the heel. You know, it's really about here squeezing. This is contraction, like really squeezing and then relaxing and then squeezing. So I find it a little bit more comfortable on the tippy toes, or on the, if you do the heel, have a little on the block, you know. Yeah. You can also hold it in place if that feels good. Or you can add that, what I did, you know, where you wind up the ball. So you spin it, you hold it tight, and then you squeeze it in. Yeah. So that adds just a little bit more grip on those muscles. And you want to think of the fascia. The fascia is that connective tissue, like the pith of an orange. And you want to think of slide and glide. You want that fascia to be like able to move around, like, you know, like a slippery surface versus, you know, like a, what is a good example? You know, you want it to be more like an icy lake that's slippery and where the things can move around versus like something that's stuck. And you know, when your tongue is stuck on ice or something, you don't want that. You want the fascia to be slide and glide. Okay, and then Let's change to the inner knee. So now we're putting it on the inside. It's like a little, like pliers, and then you squeeze it in. You know, find a spot. You know, you kind of, it likes to start from the inside and then you squeeze it out a little bit. But find an area that hurts. And maybe if nothing hurts, for me right now, I feel literally nothing, which is, I'm happy about that. But then just explore. Once you go into the different movements, you usually feel something. Yeah, but right now, I'm squeezing really hard and I feel nothing. That's great. I'm very happy. And maybe you have a spot where you feel nothing, and then, you know, be happy about that, because that's what we want. But then let's explore the moving the leg in and out on the heel. So you see, if I do that and then I squeeze a little bit, I feel something. And I'm going to wind up my ball because I want it a little bit more intense. All right. Yeah, this one, it's like when you don't feel something, then it's almost hard. So I'm just going to squeeze it here and do some, explore your body and notice what works for you, where you feel some good pain. And then, you know, so sustained compression is just holding, like just pressing in and adding any movement, any motion. And the spinning also makes it more intense. So it's your choice. Okay, enough of that. Enough of the knees. So we will start. Next thing we will do is the quads. So let me show you the card in a moment. And we don't need the bolster for that. So we can put that to the side. We might actually need one for the head. Actually, you can use the bolster or block for the head in a moment. So the quads. So the biggest muscle here is the rectus femoris. See this big one? And then you have the sartorius that goes from the outer hip all the way to the inner knee, right? That's often when we have inner knee pain. And then you have the vastus, let me see after it's flipped. So it's the vastus lateralis, so it's kind of the outer muscle, and then we have a vastus medialis in the inside. So we will be doing that in a moment when we do the shish kebab. Right now we want to do more the front of the quads. Let me see, is there any other card I could show you for that? No, that's it. So for the quads, you can use a pair of balls together in a tote. If you have the alpha ball, that's actually one of my favorites to do. And we will place it, basically we will be rolling up and down and crossing and doing all these kind of different motions. So if you have a different balls, check it out. I would not recommend one tiny ball. It's like, it's really intense. But you can always test it, you know, you can always test it. So I think I'm going to start with a plus ball. And then if that's too much, then I'm going to use this. But if you only have the small ones, you can always use these in a pair. So that's also a great alternative. So, but I will explore this. And we come onto our bellies. Let me see, I'm put the props out of the way. And then I'm placing the ball. So you're not placing it on the hip flexor. This is something we did yesterday in the class, and I didn't have a card for it. So when we worked on the hip flexors, this is something I really want to make sure. See this little white line? It's the inguinal ligament. So that's why we did the hip flexors with a cordis ball. But you can, if you know what you're doing, carefully outside, you know, roll the hip flexors, but you don't want to put like super hardcore pressure on this ligament. That's why with the hip flexors, it's better to tread lightly than to go like all the way in, right? Okay. So I'm placing the ball on my upper thigh. And right there, I'm like, okay. I've been doing workout classes every morning this week because I realized my back pain, I need to work out. So you can always just kind of let the ball, yeah, I think I might have to switch to the alpha ball. We will see. Just breathe. And then that's what I'm doing. You can tuck your toes and then kind of do that little up and down. So you explore the length of the muscle and just check in. And again, you might drift a little bit more to the outside or to the inner quads. yeah, right here in the middle, this in the middle of the belly of the, is it the middle? It feels like the middle. It's actually a little bit more the top part. That's why I feel the most. And you know, you might have to put the ball a little lower toward the knee and see. Yep, there's another area right there toward the knee. So just up, roll up and down. And again, totally okay to do this. The advantage of having two in a tote is that you do the inner and outer quad at the same time. So this is also a great alternative. Might be a little easier, but you don't get the same intensity as just having one ball. Right, and let's just switch to the other side before we do all the other movements. I'm switching to the other side, just exploring my tissues, just checking what's going on. So the upper one, kind of toward the upper thigh, into the hip flexor area, but not onto, just on the very top of the thigh. Yeah, I can already feel stuff there. And then also, yeah, you need a lot of space, depending on how long. If you have, my legs are not even that long, but if you have really long legs, you know, so kind of just explore the whole length from the knee. So you might have to do two areas, the knee to the middle quad and then the middle quad to the hip flexor. Wow. I actually like the two balls. I want to stay with that version. But you know, whatever works for you. Okay. So I'm coming back to the first side. I just wanted to get a lay of the land, kind of see what's going on. And I definitely have tension and more on my right. But let's start with the, whatever side you're on, doesn't matter. So let's come back. So for this next one, I want to explore some cross fibering, meaning we're going sideways. We're now going sideways. And whatever you diagnose as the most intense areas, we will be going sideways. That might be easier with a single ball, but you can also put them like vertically. That's what I'm going to do right now. Put them vertically, so I'm kind of covering more area. And then you shift your, just kind of rotate. But yeah, now I don't feel enough intensity. So I'm going to go back to my plus ball. That's why I love having all the different balls, so you can use whatever feels, yeah. Okay, now we're talking. So just going side, and you can actually, while you do that, kind of shift forward and back. So you're kind of doing a circle or you're doing a slalom. You know, you could kind of go side to side as you move forward and back. So you're doing a slalom on your thighs. But I can only do half of my thigh. I can't get all the way. That would be a really, but yeah, just explore. You know, I feel a lot on the outside here, a little bit more on the outer quads. So I'm staying there and rolling up and down. Breathe. This is also, I did this Pilates class. We did so many push-ups. So I feel like even this forearm plank right now, I'm like, oh, my arms, my shoulders. And you find a good spot. I want to show this to you. I'm going to continue around. If you find a good spot, you can always lower yourself down, and then you can start adding. Now I'm relaxing, I'm stretching my quad, which feels intense, and now I'm tightening it, right? Because this is what the quads do now. I'm stretching it. This feels good as a little break for my shoulders. Just kind of doing this motion. You could technically do both quads at the same time, but I think for me that's too much. So just doing one at a time. You can also windshield wiper. So you can move your shin side to side. And you can even, you know, tilt your body a whole, like rotate your whole body a little bit. So you're crossing. I have a really good spot here that hurts. So this feels really nice. It's like maybe a 4 or 5, but it feels really good. The quads are a big area, so we will be probably spending a little bit more time on this, and then if we have time, come to the inner and outer thigh. I want to definitely do that, and maybe this class gets a little longer. Okay, and then I'm going to look for another spot that was painful. So you can do a little bit of that slalom. where you roll up and down and at the same time you're crossing over. And just see if there's another area. For me, it's really here. This is good too. So find another spot. Could be the middle, could be toward the knee, and then explore different motions, bending and straightening the knee. You can also, point your foot. It doesn't really matter here. And maybe you can just also just, not your body, but just that leg. You can kind of roll that over. So I'm putting the knee further to the midline and further out. And then at some point you might have to reset. Or you can do the windshield wipering. This is a good one. Wow. It might be nice to also shift your body weight on it and just lay on that, like not even move, just kind of let that ball sink into those tissues. I'm going to do one more spot kind of toward the knee. So a little bit more right on top of the knee. And again, you can cross it by just moving your leg a little bit in and out as if you're that way. You can always load it with more body weight. If you come on to your, you can always add more body weight. And then again, doing that bending, straightening, relaxing, and tightening the quads and the windshield wipering. So anytime you move the ball across in a 90-degree angle across the muscle, it will be more intense than going up and down. But I feel with the quads, it's like everything is intense, at least for me. Relax your head. I'm talking, so I have my head up, but you can put your head in your hands, really relax. Relax the other foot. Okay, we have to switch to the other side, but this is something I definitely need to do more of. My quads are super tight. Out of everything we've done so far, it's the most intense. Okay, let me move all the props out of the way. Okay, other side. So I already know that it was kind of on the upper part and toward the knee where I had the most intensity. So, do a little bit of that kind of slalom where you push and, you cross, but you also move up and down. Or maybe you make circles. For me, it's definitely that outer area that kind of crosses to the IT band. So the outer, or the vastus lateralis and IT band, that's kind of the more tighter area for me than the inner quads. So this one is a little bit more work because you're on your forearms and you're moving your body around. But when you find a really good spot that you want to pay attention to, then I like to lower myself down. And then do that, yeah. Whew. So always exhale when you make it more intense and inhale when you release a little bit. But I feel like with this movement, there is really no release. It hurts equally if I bend or straighten my knee. Maybe add a little windshield wipering or just rolling your thigh across the ball. And again, it's totally good to have two balls in a toad. I just wanted this intensity. I wanted this kind of pain level of 6 right now. So I wanted to, so find a good level. If you feel nothing, then always if you feel nothing with the bigger ball, then go to a single yoga tune-up ball, the smallest ones. And if you feel nothing then and you add motion and you still feel nothing, then that muscle is at its perfect relaxed state. So, oh man. Yeah, these quads need a lot more love and attention. Okay, and then I'm finding another area that's kind of here. Oh yeah. And you can always add that up and down motion before you settle in and lower yourself down to find a good spot. This is also really great on bare skin because you can also, do that winding up of the ball, which would be really amazing right now, but I can't pull out my pants that high. And you can lean more body weight into it. You can also bend and then hold your thigh. breathe into your belly. Really, like, I know the belly's on the floor, but really breathe into the belly and not into the chest. So this is key. You want to create that relaxation breath, and maybe find one more spot. Yeah, for me, it's all the way the outer quad where I feel tightness, and I feel a lot of it. So this is something, this affects everything in your body. Like the tight quads will affect your hip extension, they will affect how your back feels. Like so much will be affected by this. And I definitely need to work on that longer. But I wanted to work on the outer inner thigh a little bit. And I think we're already over time, but let's do that a little bit of that. And you can continue. If you watch this on YouTube, you can obviously continue longer. So I just wanted to show this, but the quads, my quads need a lot of attention. So different options. You can just do the IT band. I will show you all the different options. I always like to be efficient and do more things at once. So one way you can do this is use the small balls. And so it's nice to have a block or a cushion for your head. And then you place the balls, lengthwise on the, and you start up here and then you kind of move slowly down here. So this takes a little bit longer time, but you place them right here. And then I don't know if you can see it, but then you can decide, so you can, if you can, stack your knees and just kind of relax here. You don't even need to add anything. Or you can start making any kind of motions. And again, actually this is better when they're out of the tote, because otherwise, and ideally you even have them directly on skin. That would be the absolute best experience. So you place the balls vertically, and then you can, if it's too much, you just use that lower leg. You can do any kind of bicycle. You can also decide how much weight you can do the leg lifts. You can do any kind of, you can press the thigh into the floor. You can also, this makes it more intense, stack your knees. Oh yeah, this is a good one. So this is one of my favorites too to do, just stack your knees and just move them up and down. Or you can, again, the bicycles are nice, or just kind of bend and straighten that lower knee. Not even bicycles, just doing this. And again, breathe into the belly. So the other option, if you want to do more at the same time, is you can add, it doesn't really matter what balls you use, but you can, I would probably use, actually, let me do that, use the bigger ones on the IT band, or even the alpha ball here. I would probably do that. And then use the smaller ones in between. So you can put the small ones in between. And I don't feel as much with here you put that on the outside. So you have a little kebab. I don't know if you can see it, but I have the balls right in between my thighs. Or if you want to add a little more, I don't feel all that much, but it also depends on how your bones are oriented and how much pressure you get. So what I like to do, I like to use a block, and I could probably use a small one here. And I create a little kebab. So you're making this stack. Let me show you. So you're making this stack and you put that ball, and maybe, so find your kind of combination. But this is another version where you do the IT band and you do the inner thighs at the same time. Oh, wow. So it's a stack. So you have the vastus lateralis IT band and then the vastus medialis on the inner leg. And you can go all the way from the top of the inner thigh toward the knee. And then either just breathe here or stack your knees, or you can add some kind of just a gentle motion. So the inner ball is not really traveling, it's more the outer one traveling across the IT band. This is a really good one for your knee too. Remember that sartorius that was traveling all the way from the outer hip across to the inner knee. So this is I love this for the knee. So really nice, just staying here. And then maybe crossing a little bit, moving a little bit. And you can also, also move that upper leg. See how now the inner ball crosses a little bit. This is a really nice one I love to do for my inner knee, and just in kind of generally in that area here. So you can, if you move the lower leg, then the lower ball will travel across. And then if you move this, Okay, let's just do the other side. But yeah, you could spend like easily 30 minutes just on just doing this particular one, and other quads, as you could see. But I want to check the other side, and then that will be the end of this class. So changing, coming to this side, and let's see, it depends. I might want to use other balls on this side, right? Just because one side was, and hold on, I need my other block. So I always like to check in by just doing the IT band, just kind of getting what I call lay of the land, getting a sense. So you're placing the balls sideways, lengthwise. Yeah. IT band is so important for back health. I mean, for you, I had all this lower back pain. So it's a super important area to have relaxed. And you can stack your knees if that feels okay. Once you start adding motion, you might just want to explore one leg at a time, just moving the knee toward your chest and then lowering it down, or you can do the bicycles. Bicycles give you more of a range of motion here, so makes it more intense. Breathing, don't forget that. I remind myself all the time. And you can, the balls might travel a little bit apart from each other. You can also do this with the knees together. So obviously you're loading more weight onto the balls when you stack your knees versus having just one leg at a time. So depending, I like to do this with 2 balls here or with the alpha ball. So one single ball like this is, wow, no, that does not feel good. To me, that's too intense. And then, yeah, so this is an area you can spend a lot of time on. And I want to do the little kebab. So I will be using, I can't remember now what combination. I think I had this on the outside, but let's see, maybe this side is different. And my other block, where did it go? Right here. So putting one on the outside, putting one on the inside with that block. So it's a little kebab here. Shashlik, we call it shashlik in German. Oh yeah. And then you can, you can let your top leg hover, or you can kind of lower it down. I like to lower it down. And it's always a little bit of a negotiation with the block here. Oh, yeah. And now you can add, you can add motion. While you squeeze, you can move the top thigh around, and it's always a little bit of a, you can hold that block too. Now that makes it easier. So you can hold that block. I know it's a little bit of a construction here, but you get so much out of it. But you can always just do the IT band. You don't need to do the inner thigh, but it's nice to do 2 things at once. And it's taught, now I want to do the knee area, just right on that part of the vastus lateralis and medialis toward the knee. And you can, another thing I didn't even say, you can just squeeze, if you squeeze the top leg down, you really create some pressure here. So you can squeeze it in. This also helps work your adductors on the other leg, on the top leg. So squeeze. There's so many different ways. So I want you to also think about being creative, like explore on your own. Don't just think, oh, this is the only way to do it. Just kind of, because I hear all the time, I don't know what to do with the balls. Just lay on the floor or go to the ball and just explore. Like, you have all these different videos now, all these different tools, but just see what happens when you now move your leg here, right? So now the ball cross fibers, that inner muscle there, this sartorius and the vastus medialis, all those muscles get a nice workout. And if you move the lower leg, then it's more the outer here, the IT band area. So you can also just lay there and just let that weight of that top leg. If you have sandbags, you could stack some sandbags on top, right? Yeah, isn't it a nice way? You can actually do this. Well, in bed, depends. If your mattress is soft, you want definitely a hard surface, because otherwise it will just sink in. But this is so nice just to lay here. And yeah. All right. This was a way longer class than I expected, but those are big muscle groups that we're talking about, right? It's like a lot different than when you just do your feet. So these are big areas, so they need that time. And you don't have to do all of it at the same time, right? You can just do the quads, and then next day you do the inner thighs, so you don't have to do everything all at once. Okay, I hope this was helpful. If you have vision problems and would like to know how to improve your vision, you go to my website, myholisticvision.com, download my free guide, 10 Habits for Happy, Healthy Eyes, and also join my free Facebook group, See Clearly Without Glasses. All right, that's it. And I'll see you tomorrow for the last Roll and Relax live class. Bye.